ready and on the way. Granit Gaming this time have the map. So Method, they're like, let's have first pick.
Interesting.
Because this choice.
I'm not so sure if I like that. As a second, like, again, maps can be weird because oftentimes when you look at the data on a map, the team still feels that they had a great week in scrims, that they had really good results in scrims on a particular map, and they feel at home there. So that's a good reason for them to pick it. The one point why it confuses me a little bit is that we still have a few maps in the pool where Granit Gaming actually looks really good and where Method looks a bit shaky. That could have been taken here, Sky Temple, for example, being one of them. But if you look at this map in particular, it's a map that Method picks a lot as well. They have 5 wins, 2 losses here. Granit Gaming has 1 win, 4 losses. They like to pick the map, but this is a very strong map of Method that they pick. I would have expected this map to come into play later, not as a second one. Because if Granit Gaming on any map gets a second victory, then it's very tough for Method to make a reverse sweep happen. If, of course, that happens on Dragonshire, a strong map for Method, hey, even better. But I would have expected them to go to a map where they know that Method is weak and where they themselves feel strong. On a map like that, getting a second win and then having the 2-0 lead in the series, I think gives you, from the emotional side, just so much momentum that it's difficult to come back. So, again, stats only get you so far when it comes to map choices. We haven't seen the scrims on this particular map for these guys, but I did not really expect Dragonshire to be picked by them.
Neither did I. I mean, this works out, in my opinion, for both teams, though. Method effectively get first pick and map selection with how strong they are on this battleground. But for Granit Gaming to actively choose to take Method to Dragonshire, that's a huge vote of confidence. Compared to NA, it's like taking Tempo Storm to Dragonshire. It's like, this is your home turf. If we can beat you here and we're already up 1 in this series, we're looking for a 3-0 pretty solid.
Yeah. The reason why I'm hesitating is, as silly as it sounds, sometimes it's confidence, sometimes it's a lack of preparation. That shouldn't happen, but oftentimes when you talk to teams, that's oftentimes what happened afterwards when you go through one of these questions. It depends on which team you're talking to. I mean, when you're at Dignitas, for example, you don't really have a weak map. Whatever you take, it's fine. You can like quibble a little about would it be have a better choice, but you're winning 90% of your games anyway, so
it's like, yeah, our weak max Hanamura.
Yeah, but here, so again, same issue. Second ban, yeah, second ban has to ban Tyrande, and they didn't. And this is what I talked about earlier. You know, when we talked about like the meta choices and how all of a sudden you're in a position where Tyrande might shake things up. We talked in the past about like heroes that you ban against ADR. You ban Abathur, you ban Medivh, and in the past you banned Tacita. Right now, you're banning Abathur, you're banning Medivh, and that all of a sudden means that Tyrande's up if your opponent is first pick. So this hero coming in actually gives Method a power spike back, because now there's another hero that really contests very highly, and if you are first pick, then Method is always going to get one of those 3 heroes if they really want it. They're either going to get Abathur, they're either going to get Medivh, or they're going to get Tyrande if they're willing to commit to a first pick on them.
We're about to find out if Granit Gaming's confidence has founding or not over the course of this draft for the points you made just now. Banning Abathur, banning Medivh does leave Tyrande open. You take Method to this battleground, you limit some of those macro pressure options and just wacky dynamics of something like a Medivh. Leave yourself wide open for a hero that kind of paved your way to success in game number 1. Granit Gaming, they do not feel like seeing Bad Benny's Diablo in those tighter corridors over the shrines. I completely understand that decision.
I would expect Murin to be taken by Method. I'm wondering if I'm surprised that... Okay, you want to ban out... Alright, yeah, you want to ban out Diablo because there's still the option of getting Yrel, Diablo, and Deckard Cain on top of Tyrande on the Method side. But you leave Hammer open because... Muradin, the other Hammer guy. You leave him open because Johanna has already been taken for Wave on Granit's side. So now Method can go into stun, so the Muradin Tyrande composition. And I'm not so sure if I really like that draft on Granit. The priority that they have on some of the heroes are weird to me. Having Kharazim this high up in the priority, when on your 1-2 you had a chance to go for Yrel on the side lane or to take any other hero here, feels strange to me. Deckard Cain was still open, so Kharazim and Genji can jump in deep, but I'm not quite sure what to think about that draft right now.
I don't know how they're going to do it in a longer fight. We do see the Muradin. Bad Benny's happy about that. Phoenix for the solid, consistent damage. which something is, in my opinion, Karazim struggles with. Once he dashes in and throws out that one heal, it feels like an eternity before he can add any further sustain. So he's going to be heavily relying on mobility. That leaves a hero like Raynor just, you better be able to sustain yourself. Don't get caught out of position because I'm not white main. I'm not going to be able to keep you up like some other supports. I'm not Deckard Cain either. So that selection, to take Karazim that early for what they ended up picking towards the back end of the draft is just something of a surprise to me.
We're missing the solo laner. But yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, you have Genji. Genji is great. They got him late, which is good because there's, again, the rotation to the top side where you have the solo lane. So Genji can really shake that matchup up a little bit. Not quite to the extent that Abathur can, but it's still a nuisance. But yeah, that Karazim in the 1-2.
Why?
Is very weird to me because you still have so many heroes that you're trying to take away from your opponent, and I'm not quite sure if I'm a fan of that. I get the ban on Diablo, but again, you leave but what Tyrande wants is a stun setup. That's what Tyrande wants, because it's very difficult for her to hit the Lunar Flare if she doesn't get a stun setup. So there's different ways how you can do that. With the Stitches, it's the hook that you're following up. With Diablo, you're coordinated with your Diablo player, so once that he goes for the overpower, you get the stun on that. So that's a good synergy, and you have Mirrodin. Those are three heroes that you really think about when you're looking at Tyrande, mainly, more so than anyone else. I mean, you have Variant 2, but he doesn't really fit into the meta right now. But so those are the three. So Mirrodin is already a hero that you know is great on Dragonshire. It's one of the most successful hero battlegrounds for Mirrodin. Banning Diablo, I think, was mostly because they're afraid of that Urel Diablo tank combo at the front. But either way, with you committing to Johanna on the first pick, Tyrande is going to have a good time, no matter what. So I could have seen them just adjusting their draft because of Tyrande, running a different tank. If, for example, they are going into, let's say, a Mirrodin and then ban out Diablo, then the options on the side of Method are really limited. But if you want to play the wave clear game with Johanna instead, and you feel like that's your biggest asset here, then all of a sudden you are in a weird spot because Tyrande is going to find that synergy. And then you add that Karazim on the second pick. Not sure if I'm really a fan of the draft.
On the further add to the overall question mark, Granit Gaming rounds their composition out with Malthael. We're getting into the next game now. And that also adds to the question for me, like, why would you prioritize Johanna Karazim that early for Malthael in the back end? Like, you're going to get him no matter what if you really wanted to. He's not necessarily highly prioritized. You're trading a lot of really strong options over to Method by taking Johanna for wave clear, sure. But the synergy between Johanna and Karazim, if you're using that just to try to respond to Tyrande without worrying about how your own composition is going to work, Granit Gaming might have just shot themselves in the foot.
I mean, sometimes I look at a draft and I just don't see what they were doing, and then once the game starts, you are like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, I get it. The draft is much stronger than I thought because you didn't catch up on a synergy, or there was something that you just didn't see. Right now I'm looking at that and I'm saying Granit Gaming's draft is ass. So, I mean,
well, tell me how you really feel, okay?
they were very confident picking those heroes and like snap pick that early Karazim too. They have a 7-sided maybe into last rites now. At this point, I feel I'm not seeing something that I should. I'm happy to be proven wrong. But I look at the drafts and I say Method has a massive advantage in this.
Normally we expect Method to innovate, but this time Granit Gaming's going for the curveball. Over on the left, looking to tie this series up is Method. ADRD's on Phoenix, Ethereal's playing Urel, Bad Benny throwing Storm Bolts on Meriden, Kirsten's playing Tyrande, and Nick will be throwing grenades around.
And over to the right side of the map, we have their opponent, Granit Gaming, with a lead in this series. Genji, played by Memecraft. We have Darkmork back on a traditional solo laner with Malthael. We have Wolfjoy in this case on Karazim, a bit more aggressive. And Raid Boss on Reyna, which leaves, of course, Nanda on the front line with Johanna.
Conceptually, I can see instances where Karazim looks to get aggressive, jump immediately onto the Tyrande, so she can't really use Lunar Flare offensively. They can't really set up how they want to try to engage. But Johanna isn't really the hero to accentuate that. Normally you want more mobility like a Meriden or something like that. So there's just a lot of different things. But like you said, I like the idea of 7-sided strike and last rites. That's a ton of percentage-based damage. When Method is not able to get value out of the engagement from Bad Benny, they do look like a weaker.
Yeah. I really feel that a thought process on the Granit Gaming side is to pressure Tyrande, and that is going to happen through Genji diving her and also Karazim making the same move. if that's the thought process here, then it's going to come down a lot to Kirsten's positioning and him trying to stay safe in that backline while still being able, through his level 4 extended range, to get those stuns in. And especially at level 4, I feel we're going to see Kirsten and Benny roam the map a little bit. Try and get those kills, trying to get those stuns in. But yeah, I feel if you pick Karazim this early after you see the Tyrande first pick on your opponent's side, the idea has to be threatening her and jumping on her. But if Person plays his cards right, he should be able to deal with that. And if that's actually the case, and it happens once or twice, it's up to Athero on Urel to say, all right, once they jump on Tyrande, I'm going to be there, I'll provide the extra armor, and I'm going to provide the peel for you, and I'll make sure that you stay alive.
Well, that's what I was going to say. If we do see Granit Gaming jump in onto Tyrande, Murden could just jump on to Raynor, and then Urel could play peel duties, keep the back line alive, and then Method's going to have to just chase after Granit Gaming. I think we could see Granit Gaming trying to go in for a team fight. They don't immediately blow up Tyrande like they want to. Then they try to save Raynor, and then once the retreat happens, Method just goes to 10.
I mean, this is an important map. The choice of Granit Gaming to go to Dragonshire surprised me, as I said earlier, because if Granit Gaming gets a 2-0 lead here, I think Method is in so much trouble since it's going to be tough to make that reverse sweep happen. But this is a good map for Method. This is a really good map for them. Yeah, on Dragonshire, 5 wins and 2 losses. They oftentimes pick the map even. They're very comfortable here. Normally they approach the map from a second pick position, but they have played it from first pick too. And with Tyrande changing the drafting up, having first pick here is giving them a huge advantage, since they're either going to end up with Tyrande or with the 2 heroes that are traditionally banned out against them, which are Abathur and Medivh. So, interesting setup here. We have the extended range for Tyrande, by the way, so it's basically, like, the quest talent Do Not Blaze on level 4 is great with the damage increase that you get through the quest, but the main reason you pick it is the increased range.
Kirsten says not even close, and the Q from Raid Balls was almost enough to get first blood, but then there's the response. Wolf Joe almost gets taken down themselves. Kirsten shaving it pretty close there with that mustache.
Nah, calculated. I mean, at the same time, though, this is what we talked about, right? So trying to jump on Tyrande in the setup here and trying to be aggressive towards her. And that is definitely what they have to do, I feel. I think this is really what they need to try and pull off here. Make sure that Genji is going to jump into the spot and also just provide that with Karazim. And keep in mind, Method actually on the second ban, they banned Zeratul because they know how much Raid Boss plays Zeratul, how much Granit Gaming relies on Zeratul. And Zeratul would threaten Tyrande together with Karazim even more, so they tried to eliminate that as a factor. But with Genji also open, it allowed them to get another dive hero, so that's the big thing here to consider when Granit Gaming is making these plays.
Granit Gaming can't get on the Tyrande. They seem to be more than happy with putting some damage on the ADRD's Phoenix. Both shrines right now in possession of Method. That's going to allow them with this siege camp just apply some pressure down bottom. Got through parts of the wall. Good amount of damage onto the tower as well. They're enjoying a slight experience lead, and we have yet to see, outside of that one attempt on Curson, Granit Gaming really get on the offensive to try to establish themselves in the early game.
One of the things that I also find interesting is that Nick and ADRD oftentimes start switching heroes now. We're having Nick now on Junkrat, we have Phoenix played by ADRD, oftentimes it's vice versa. So, interesting part there. Darkmok gets stunned and taken out. That's the solo lane that you just lost. That's never a good thing. Someone will have to make that rotation topside very quickly to make sure that they're not losing in experience there. But that is definitely the first kill, and we talked about roaming. This is a map where you want to have Murden and Tyrande roam if you can and try to set up these kills, and they're going to try and pull that particular MO off several times.
Like few others, you lose your solo lane in Dragonshire, all your plans have to at least be paused, and that's opportunity for the opponent to further get ahead. Wolf Joe jumps in, steps on the route almost, but the follow-up Wolf showing why he took Karazim. That dash had to be there right then, or that was going to be takedown number 2.
That was a frame-perfect dash that we just saw from Karazim. And as you said, if one of the stuns connects, he is dead for sure. So a close call here. Yeah, Karazim.
Close call, say the very least.
Yeah, Karazim needs a new pair of pants after this one. That was a very, very close escape there. Pretty scary. So now we're having immediately Bad Benny attacked in the middle. I mean, Granit is still pushing this out, but Method is taking a tiny lead in experience. They're trying to control the shrines. They still have the advantage of running Urel at the top lane. Makes it very difficult for Darkmok to have an impact here with Malthael without any assistance of Genji, who, as predicted, is oftentimes making that rotation.
Ooh. I was going to say Granit Gaming stabilized after losing that hero, and they were like, actually, we're going to go ahead and get our first takedown too. You catch Phoenix out in the mid lane, not too bad there. That buys Granit Gaming license to go over for their siege camp to see if they can make inroads to the other side of the map. Allows them to catch up on experience, so both teams get their R keys at about the same time.
Oh, but Benny, that just feels bad. He tries to get a stack here on the Stormbolt, and instead of actually connecting with Karazim, he hits the Siege Giant, and Wolf just says, hey, dude, thanks for helping out here. We could have done it with the two of us, but if you want to chip in, that's fine with me. So, yeah, good Benny, good Benny.
Good Benny.
Helping out the opponent here to get the camp. Nah, it feels bad. If you're him, that feels bad. He sees that situation, he wants to get the stack, and then, yeah, it just hits Siege Giant. That's a bit unfortunate for him.
I can hear the Curb Your Enthusiasm music playing. You ever watch this?
Uh-huh.
You ever watch Curb Your Enthusiasm?
No.
See, man, you've been here for 2 years, man. We gotta get you up. We gotta catch you up on some of these shows in North America.
What? I've never even heard of it.
Oh my.
You can blame that on Tim.
You know.
You can blame Drixler for that. If there's like a show that I haven't heard of and that I need to check out, then it's definitely his duty to make sure that I heard of that.
You'd appreciate it. There's always these awkward moments where it's just like life would turn out like that. That's exactly what just happened.
Yeah, we had a few of those in that game already. We also might have a Dragonite here.
They do. They 100% do. The first time I think we've seen Granit Gaming have possession of both shrines, nets them a Dragonite. Method had control over them pretty much the entire game, and now they're the one dealing with the objective.
I'm wondering a bit how that played out at the top lane. Now, we didn't see that. I only had eyes on it on the minimap. Urel was trying to get the shrine back, but that shouldn't have been for that long in the control of Granit Gaming in the first place, with only Malthael being there. Maybe they didn't have vision. I expect that that Genji transition back down. But now Granit Gaming has at least a chance to grab some experience by taking out structures here. We have a decent split from them on 3 lanes, having 2 heroes at the bot lane, making sure that they get a bit more value there too. I mean, Method by no means is down too much right now. They lose out on some experience, but it's only 1 kill on each side, and the fort might fall, but I think that's going to be the extent of it, if it even happens.
Granit Gaming is keeping Method honest by establishing an advance on 2 fronts. They have to respond to the Dragonite mid. That allows the other members to just go down bottom and see what they can get there. A lot of damage put on in that fort. Above average overall value, I would say, out of the first objective phase. Granted, it did get towards the 7.5-minute mark before it was finally picked up. Granit Gaming to take Method to this battleground. They're looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, I mean, they took down 2 fountains now in the middle and on the bot lane, so that definitely makes it harder for the 2 lanes to sustain themselves whenever there's aggression coming towards their way, especially since we didn't see any structures taken out by Method yet when it comes to fountains. So, camp taken too. Granit definitely building up a bit of momentum here, but their lead is not too significant just yet. That's something to definitely check out soon.
Oh, the money pig. There is your money pig.
Well, there's always money pig. It's the best. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I'm not sure if people know, but the money pig is by far the best mount in the game, and it's the most prestigious one as well. It's like the Ferrari of heroes, the McLaren. It's like the Porsche. It's like the best mount by far.
I'll let you have it. That's fine. I don't know if I can go that far with you on the money pig. The pig is the Ferrari.
You're riding bacon that drops money.
You know, you pose it like that, that's a very fair point. Level 13 picked up for both of these teams. Bruiser Camp also picked up for a Granit Gaming, who are feeling very confident and bold. Now I'm just going to go ahead and go through this wall, so the vision is going to be limited. Or no, it's going to leave it there for now. He doesn't want to get caught out. 4 members do show up from Method. So right now, Granit are just putting so much consistent pressure onto Method that they're not really able to make a play.
I mean, the one thing that really surprises me is how little stun combos we currently see from Method. And we only had 4 Lunar Flares connect on Kirsten. He has 4 stacks on his level 4 right now, which is really weird to me. With the Murden as it's set up, you would have expected a lot more aggression out of them, but they are the ones that are actually getting pressure at here. And normally with a setup like Method has, you're looking for kills. You're trying to at least pressure opponents, and very little of that is happening. And that's a bit concerning to me. On level 13, we also don't have the speed bonus taken with the Quickening Blessing. Instead, we have a Harsh Moonlight also now taken for Kirsten, so specking a bit more into the Sentinel, trying to get the slow. And, well, here might be the damage output, but again, the jump onto Phoenix in this case, ADRD, just losing out on the shields and able to move away. Still the control of the top lane through Urel. Experience is still the same, but Method needs to become a bit more threatening. They need to really find the pressure in those fights through the stuns they have and the damage output.
further context to that quest progression so far for Kirsten, about 5 minutes ago, he still only had 4 stacks. That doesn't speak to how much pressure Granit Gaming's been able to put on. I'm not sure what does. A little bit of a scrap going on down towards the bottom. Raiders trying to step forward. Both shrines are picked up for the moment by Granit Gaming. Bad Benny will be able to take back at least a neutral control of the shrine. Right now, both of these teams, they just seem to be playing for level 16.
Yeah, no, the reason why we have both shrines under control was that currently we see Darkmog and also Ethereal both trying to rotate between the lanes to get the experience there. And that's why sometimes the top lane has to be given up. We see Divine Steed taken, so that helps.
I hear the Jaws move playing right now.
Yeah, but that's
Johanna's pretty tough to game.
With Iron Skin, she should be the one that is able to move away from this. But we have the Genji rotation to the top lane that we highlighted during draft already. Memecraft's mobility is going to allow him to offset the balance of power on that top lane quite often, and that's what he's actually doing. 16 close for both. It's a little bit of a dodging game right now. Both teams are not committing too heavily into fights. It's mostly trying to play around the opponent.
I mean, neither team have really managed to establish a ton of aggression, but Granit Gaming has been coming out ahead in the overall macro play. It feels to me like Method is just kind of like playing by the numbers, waiting for Granit Gaming to make a mistake, but to their surprise, Granit Gaming aren't really making it. There's the Iron Skin, there's the Junkrat Mine. Also, the Blessed Shield goes out. It is going to miss. That's a heroic down if we see Method force the issue. Looks like they are considering that. Stun goes out on the Mountfield to follow up. There's the Riptire. Finds a home on the Nandi's face. Not enough for a takedown there. Method, again, just kind of trying to find their way into this game, unsuccessfully so.
Now 2 shrines are taken against them. 16 available on both sides, with Tirana now speccing more into the Sentinel, of course, getting Empower here. And again, zoned out too easily, but Urel at the top lane clutches the channel on the shrine and is able to make sure that Granit Gaming does not get that second Dragonite. But that was a little bit too close for comfort for any Method fan.
Thero slid in there right at the exact time he needed to. Bad Benny and Thero, they do sniff out that the Bruiser camp is getting picked up by Granit Gaming, and instead of going for that, they go for Genji, and they're going to go ahead and help Granit Gaming confirm the engine's ragdoll as Genji went flying.
My favorite moment is that Genji was actually not taken down by a hero. It was one of the minions that was standing next to him to deliver the
Nexus Forces, baby.
Minions already there. But this is exactly what we've been talking about, these stun setups, because look at Genji's heroic. He actually has X-Strike. If he would have had just one frame to move out there, he could have just moved out with the X-Strike and dodged all of this. But instead, because this time we actually saw the CC chain being perfectly executed, there was no way for him to get away. The Hunter's Mark applies to the damage increase, and then he's getting taken down. It also means that we have more stacks on... not enough for kill. That we have more stacks for the Stormbolt, 23 now for Benny, so 2 more, and he's going to get the benefits. Gets the Pierce, gets the cooldown reduction through the auto attacks. It's going to be great for him. So Method definitely showcasing a little bit more now what the composition is about, especially with Kirsten also starting to hit more of these Luna players.
It's going to inspire Memecraft to play things a little bit straight up, using the mid lane. Like, what are you going to do? Stormbolt me in my face and blow me up? I'm Genji. Actually, Method will think that's exactly what we're going to do. You don't even get to use X-Strike. Siege Camp is picked up for Method. They could rotate down. Looks like they're going for the Bruiser Camp also. They're trying to make a push here.
Here's one of the things that actually worries me. I expected Method at this point to be way farther ahead because of that aggressive composition. And now... we'll hold that thought for a moment because we have a bit of a hectic fight here. Okay, but come back to this. Now we have 16, and the reason why I'm actually worried now is because we have both of them on eye level. And you look at the 16 talent, it's all of a sudden we are seeing in the case of Karazim, he has the Cleansing Touch. So now we have Inevitable End on Malthael on 13. We have Cleansing Touch, and we have an Iron Skin taken from on Johanna's side. So you have 3 heroes that can really work against those stuns. With the composition that Method was playing, I expected them in the early game to be very aggressive, dominate, try to play these chains, and try to get ahead through that. They failed to do that up to level 13 when Malthael is a lot safer through the Inevitable End. And also now we have a Cleansing Touch. So you have great escape tools on every single hero. I mean, Memecraft can even jump out with the X-Strike if he has to. He has the Deflect as well. So every hero here has something against that setup that Method has this late in the game. And with Karazim having the 3 charges, this is actually something where a lot of the tools that Method has and a lot of the advantages of the composition are being negated.
spite of that, it still feels like very much anyone's game. Rounding the 16-minute mark, a fort has not yet been claimed by either team. Granted, Granit Gaming has been doing more damage. They do stand to have a surge of experience to get to level 20. So I do think if Method loses another team fight, it's going to be that much more difficult to stabilize.
Yeah, of course, but yeah, that's okay. They get Johanna. This time Wolfjo is not around for the cleansing touch. That was a good isolated kill. And the kills are important this late in the game for them because of the increased death timers. With them failing to be farther ahead at this point, this was absolutely crucial. But the reaction from Granit is a commitment to the top side. Ethereal not popping the Ardent Defender just yet. Genji is also moving in. Good play by Ethereal. Not panicking, seeing everybody coming in, just like taking the damage and saying like, all right, I still have the Ardent Defender, you guys have no stun, so no matter what happens here, I'm going to be able to negate that. He had to play around the cooldown on last rights.
Boys under pressure. Heads up play there by Ethereal. Granit Gaming just seems like in their rotations, in their soaking towards level 20, they keep asking Method, what are you going to do? One-shot me? And Method's success, coming away with their first Dragonite, comes off the takedown of Johanna. Now they're ahead in experience. They go through this middle fort. That's going to be level 20. They get a takedown. That's the keep wall, maybe even more.
Yeah, it's still, again, with all the tools that Granit Gaming has now, this is by no means over. Method is going to hit the early 20, but Granit should be able to grab the Storm Talons just in time to play on eye level here. But at least Method has now found a little bit of momentum, because their job was more or less to get ahead in the early game, and they failed to do that. Granit Gaming did a great job dodging out on those isolated kills. But now they lost Johanna, and as you said, that led to the first Dragonite for Method, and now they need to try and maximize the value they get out of it.
Well, I'm concerned because Darkmog alone is doing sizable damage to that middle fort. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, not too much of a push happened. They're still just dealing with the wave. They do manage to go through this bottom fort. Finally, they do have level 20. Darkmog alone did so much damage to this Dragonite, the full value that could have potentially been had out of a stronger push is no longer there for Method.
70 minutes in, so they got 2 forts out of it. The early 20, they have established a bit of map control. They themselves haven't lost a fort yet, but granted they are low, and at this point they're not really of too much use. The 20s are in, and that means that for Toronto now we also have the Ice Blade arrows. Also another really important one. The increased attack speed alone is already fantastic, and then the damage reduction here is also great. That can be used. Nice move against ADR here with the Blessed Shield, but immediately cleansed out by Person using the Celestial Attunement. So definitely paying attention to the potential re-engage tools that Granit Gaming has.
Gamecraft is rotating in on the flank, ends up stepping on the whoopee cushion.
Was a cool move.
What was that?
Benny, Muradin and Urel both jumped over the wall. They had vision on 4 heroes. So they know that on lane there's 4 heroes, but they know someone's missing. And they're thinking, okay, where are you? And earlier before, we saw him actually hiding in that area. So both of them jump at the same time over and see if there's someone that they can pounce upon. That was actually pretty well done. In this case, there was, I mean, it had no effect right now because he didn't move to the left. But if he does, there's a good chance that he's dead, just simply because of that. They're like, guys, we're missing one. He could be there. Let's jump in together. Tyranda's ready for the follow-up. And if there's a hero hiding and thinking about a potential flank for a setup to force a team fight, then that could have been an insta-kill. So it was a subtle play, and it was something that didn't do anything because there was no one there. But that is a really cool thought, and seeing stuff like that is awesome.
They need to look for plays like that because the rotation, anytime Granit Gaming sees them coming a mile out, it looks like Method is more, or Granit Gaming is more than capable of responding. So they do need to get the jump on rotations. They've been able to do that. That's what got them that Dragonite earlier on. So yeah, heads up playmaking. Bruiser camp down bottom is going to be available. No one from Granit Gaming is any the wiser seemingly or in any position to try to stop this. So with the bottom fort taken down, if this is left to its own devices and the Dragonite somehow falls into the hands of Method, this is a snowball scenario.
Good camp take at the bot lane now. It's applying a bit more pressure and will force Granit Gaming's hands in the defense. The important part here really is a team fight can decide the game now. With a Dragonite as a reward, you can take that. Malthael is visible at the top lane, and therefore they just push through the bottom. It's going to force Malthael back eventually, but they are going to get a wall now for free, and that sets them even better up for a scenario where they grab another objective and can end the game. So Method is currently preparing to end after the next team fight. They're trying to get the most value out of this, and they actually got a huge amount. Malthael has had to move back, and Method says immediately, boys, we're out. We got all we wanted. We don't have to YOLO onto the keep here. We don't have to sacrifice anything. We can just move out. It's no downside for us. Just chill and play it safe for now.
And the Bruiser camp up top, while it did push towards the top court, they didn't even lose out anything in a big way on that. So that's across the board a win for Method. They need to continue to have rotations like that. Grenades are going to spot Nanda. He steps in there, looks to pick up this shrine. This is a big team fight, Caldor. If Granit Gaming get this shrine and a few takedowns, that's another dragon more than often.
Yeah, any team that takes a DK, like if Method takes a DK at this point, the game's over. If Granit takes it, it depends a bit on how fast they are moving through the bottom fort and keep. But with the wall at the keep already eliminated on the bot side for Granit Gaming, Method has an more or less open lane to move through if they get 2 kills in a DK. So this is scary, especially with Rewind on Muradin now. Yes, you have a lot of tools to get an unstoppable for yourself through an inevitable end, or Johanna too. And also, of course, we talked about Karazim a bit earlier in his cleansing touch. But it's still scary if you have this many CCs that can be stacked upon. If one of the heroes isn't close, then that could be the end of it. Good damage output already here. And yeah, Granit Gaming has to be careful. They are in a very, very narrow corner here, but especially Nick is going to get massive value through his grenades.
Yeah, he's going fishing for real. Finds Nanda, lands a couple of those, but right now we are bearing witness to the overall evolution of Granit Gaming. The team that we're seeing roam around on Dragonshire right now, Caldor, is not the team that we saw last week on maps like Tomb of the Spider Queen, and Method is showing them respect as a result. Normally, I think you would see, you look at the win-loss disparity, look at the overall standings, Method's going to be aggressive, but right now they're just waiting to respond. They're really respecting.
Method is not waiting. Method is taking both siege tank camps at the bot lane while we have Muradin anchoring the play. That's actually, I mean, you are correct. They have respect, as you can see here, and with Granit Gaming having the lead in the series, they need to. But that was actually really cool, because now 2 camps are taken, and it forces Granit Gaming immediately down to the bot lane. Urel right away takes top shrine, and now Granit Gaming is forced to invade that shrine. There's no one in the middle to try and take it. Benny needs to get out of here. Shadowstalk already being used. Minecraft is there. But it's definitely Method at this point that is forcing the rotations and forcing the plays. They are taking the initiative. And Urel is now moving into the middle. So if Method at any point is grabbing bot shrine control again, that could be a Dragonite. But we are heading towards that 5 versus 5 that we were pointing out earlier.
This is one of the first times Method's kind of called Granit Gaming into a catch-22. Most of their success have been off of ganks. Darkmonk steps forward, finds Bad Vinny there, contested over the shrine for the moment. A lot of poke damage coming in from Nick. As long as there's this standoff where both teams are sticking around, the long-range poke could go in favor of Method.
And Raid Boss just lost his Banshee. So the Rainer's Raiders are down, so that's a bad move. But at the same time, here comes the move against Nick with the last rights. That's not a kill, but Tyrande falls as Genji goes for it. We have the Riptire coming out. Nanda is low, might actually fall here, but he has his Unstoppable still on 20, and that keeps him in play. 1 kill in the fight. Method down their healer. Bad situation for them to be in here now. They're going to try and hold on to at least 1 shrine, but Granit Gaming is 5-manning the map now.
Yeah, the rotations, the politics here are going to be very important for Granit Gaming. We see Genji rotating up towards top. Darkmonk and the crew are going to be able to hold on to this bottom one. Without your support, without having Avatar, it would be a dicey prospect. If Method loses another hero here, that could be the beginning of the end, and their chances of turning the series around. Bad Vinny eats a lot of damage, has the health reduction. Darkmonk continues to press the issue. Doesn't even need the Rave Strike. We got Rainer skeet shooting out here. 3 takedowns now for Granit Gaming.
That was a really, 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 really bad death.
There's a
the Dragonite was already forfeit. You can't do anything around that, and now you're down your tank. They're going to get Tyrande back for the defense here. With Muradin falling and down for another 40 seconds, there's actually a good chance that Granit Gaming ends the game now. With Muradin, I think they had a very good opportunity to defend. Now it's going to become so much more difficult for them.
I know there's a Twitch chat account that's getting tagged right now. As we see Granit Gaming descend onto the core, they go through the bottom keep at no charge. Still a good amount of help on the Dragonite. The shield is gone, the core 60%. Riptire is not going to be enough. It is going to be ripped for Method as Granit Gaming go up 2-0 in this best of 5.
GG and well played. Method with a couple of mistakes here. Now again, I still think that the draft for the early game was much better for Method. But if you never get any kills and at 10 minutes into the game you connected 4 Lunar Flares on your Tyrande, then there's something wrong. Either Cursen's not hitting his targets, or there's just not enough synergy with Muradin and Tyrande when they're trying to roam the map. What Granit Gaming did was play very smart though, and I like that. They in the early game knew perfectly well that they're going to be kill squads on the map. They're kind of taking down. So they played around them the entire time. Never really engaged into a fight. We had like 1 kill on each side, nothing too crazy. And then as the game progresses and more talents come in, they have more and more tools to deal with this with the CC chain. The inevitable end comes in. You have the cleansing touch. You have three cleanses there basically, and Johanna too gets caught once, but outside of that, difficult to take her down. And once you have this many tools against the CC that Method is going to try and use, you're in a great spot. And that's what was shown also at the bottom fight. And then you have a dive potential as well. So Granit played it well. Method, I'm especially a little bit disappointed by the Muradin death. I mean, I don't know if they could have defended, but I think if Muradin is there, their chances of holding that are a lot better.
Certainly higher.
Because Tyrande was back, and it's a late game Dragonite. It's difficult to hold that, but I think that would have given them at least a chance to defend against the DK. Him dying there definitely sealed the deal in an already bad situation. But yeah, now Method is down 0-2, and Granit Gaming is in an insanely good spot to take that series, and that is something that Roll20 fans are not going to be happy about. And it's also a bit unexpected. I expected Granit Gaming to show up today. I did not expect them to take a 2-0 lead over Method this easily, especially given that this is also one of the best maps for Method. So Granit Gaming is just completely wiping the floor with their opponent.
When two teams are evenly matched, it generally comes down to what opportunity is available. Can they keep this going? Granit Game, we'll find out. Don't go anywhere. Game 3 after the break.